we wanted to give an update in the case that we have, of course, have had probably 1,000 questions come in about, and it's very concerning to our community in reference to the abduction that took place at the Ingles supermarket parking lot Monday afternoon. I would like to say that our detectives and investigators have worked tirelessly to try to work to the end of this case and try to solve this case. By no means are we close to the end at this point, but we have made an arrest, and so I wanted to give you that update and also give you some details I was unable to give you yesterday in reference to the case. So obviously what you do know is we had a female victim that was abducted in the Ingles parking lot. She was basically overwhelmed and overtaken in the parking lot and forced into her own vehicle. She was assaulted during the course of that abduction, and she was attacked from behind, that we know. The attacker basically, when he attacked her from behind, choked her until she lost consciousness. Okay. The victim later woke back up in her vehicle. The suspect, of course, was driving her vehicle. The suspect, in the course of the time that she was abducted, stopped and violently assaulted her, and also sexually assaulted her. Threatened to kill her if she even looked in his direction. She sustained some serious head injuries that has required hospitalization. And she is currently in the hospital and due to be released hopefully in the next day or so. Detectives and forensics investigators have worked tirelessly and were able to gather evidence that led to the identification of the suspect. I mentioned yesterday that there was some evidence found by one of our crime scene investigators that actually helped us to the point of developing a person of interest. And of course, in a scene like this where there's hardly any witnesses or surveillance video that is accessible to you, this was very crucial. So this was detective work at its finest. Of course, since then, they've worked very passionately on this case. Worked almost all night and all day, of course, still. We were able to make an arrest just before noon today. And we have our suspect in custody, who is Jamal Harvey, 44 years of age, and has been arrested and charged with criminal sexual conduct in the first degree, kidnapping, assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature, and of course there may be other pending charges as the investigation continues. So that's where we're at. I do not have a mugshot for you at this time. Obviously, the suspect has not been booked into the detention center as of yet. That will come probably later here in a little while, and you'll have access to the mugshot. But that is the information that I can give to you at this point. So I know you're going to have some questions. This is something where I know, because I've heard from many ladies within the community. Also, I'm married and have daughters, so it's very concerning to this community, not just the community over near Tielhanna, but the whole county itself. And I firmly believe that with how violent this act was and how the information that we have so far, I believe that if we had caught the suspect, he would have struck again. And I firmly believe that, and that's a very scary thought. So we are very comforted by the fact that our folks were very diligent. They worked very hard. I'm extremely proud of them. It is a relief when you get somebody like this off the streets. So again, I know I'm about to turn it over to let you ask a few questions here for the media. Just know there's things I wish I could tell you. I wish I could get into more details. I wish I could tell you everything that I knew, but obviously I hope everybody understands I have to protect the integrity of the case because we want this guy prosecuted to the fullest. So I know there will be probably unanswered questions that you still may have, and we just have to wait till that day in court to learn the rest of this story. So with that, our hearts go out to the victim. We have been praying for her, and although it was a tragedy for her and for the community, I'm just so proud and excited that we were able to get this guy off the street before he struck again. So with that, what questions y'all have?
Chad McBride.
Yes, sir.
I know you might not be able to, but as far as what evidence you guys were able to find to catch this guy so quickly, I know you couldn't get your hands on any security camera footage in the most part. So what was it that led you to an arrest here?
Well, like I said before, it's kind of good old-fashioned detective work. So, we have detectives that, work cases, and we have crime scene investigators, and their jobs is basically combing the scene, looking for any evidence, anything, and they deal with everything from processing, and I'm not saying that's what it is, I'm just giving you an example, DNA or blood or, retrieving surveillance video, fingerprints. I mean, there's a whole host of different things that they do to process a crime scene. So the diligence of one of these crime scene investigators is actually what led us to this person of interest. And of course, they're the detectives that are handling the case. From there, they move forward with that, the collection of that evidence and what they know there. And then, of course, they move forward trying to make sure that, looking for all those other details.
And one more question for you. Bond court, do we have any details, time or date on when that might be for Jamal?
I would imagine it'd be in the morning. Based on the charges, of course, the magistrate probably will not be able to set the bond. It will have to go before a circuit court judge, and that could take a few weeks. So basically, it's still the suspect would still go before a magistrate, like I said, probably in the morning, and they will basically say, we can't give you bond this time. You'll have to go before the higher court.
Any reason to believe he's done this before?
So I asked that very same question, Kevin. So, with this type of crime, typically somebody has, this may be the first time. Let's pray that this is his first and only time that he has struck, and that he won't be able to ever again. But we're going to put a bulletin out to all of our neighboring agencies, but we're going to put this thing out nationwide and make sure. I don't know where all he's been. Obviously he's from here and he lives here now. But if there's any details that are similar, hopefully other agencies would pick up on that and begin to, look into him.
Can I get a message to the community about just vigilance?
Yes, great question. So, talking to several ladies over the last 2 days, I will say this: always be vigilant in your surroundings. Be aware of your surroundings. Pay attention. I think we get so caught up in the moment. Everybody's looking at their phones. I'm guilty of it too. But we get so caught up in the moment of whatever we're doing, and we're just distracted, and we get complacent. We've got to break ourselves of those habits, because you never know who's lurching around the corner that's about to prey on you, because you're an easy target. And when you do those things and when you're complacent, you have become an easy target. So it obviously it's not at night anymore that you got to worry about. Broad daylight. So even in broad daylight circumstances, when you see people, make eye contact with them. My theory, and this is not real science, okay? I'm just going to tell you my theory here is, if you feel like somebody is, maybe it's a weird situation, a potential threat or something, make eye contact with that person. Let them know that you see them. Most of these people that prey on, like our victim Monday, are cowards. Okay, so as soon as you make eye contact with them, that in and of itself could be a deterrent right there. If you have a key fob that has an alarm on it, hold that key fob in your hand as you're approaching your car or leaving your car, and have that button accessible, and set that car alarm off if you feel like you're being threatened in any way. But again, just paying attention to your surroundings, watching your corners. Everything else is and that's the biggest thing. And don't have, especially to the young ladies out there, don't have your eyes glued on the phones. Pay attention to what you're doing,
because that could help for watching out for other people too.
Well, absolutely. So that's a great example. In this particular case, there was a lot of people in the Ingles parking lot that did not see anything. Okay, and so certainly there's a whole lot of reasons why they may have not seen anything, but particularly probably because they're glued to a phone or doing something else and they're distracted and they're not paying attention to their environment. So that's why it's very important that you do so.
Out of curiosity, do we know what part of the parking lot this was? Because if it's 240 and it's closer to the storefront, I feel like that would be a very busy part of the parking lot. Was this like in the back in the corner or something?
Kind of mid-range.
Mid-range.
Mid-range. So obviously, you know, you got to probably have a, you know, just like our parking lot here, you've got a whole host of different vehicles, different sizes. You know, some SUVs are hard to see over, or pickup trucks, you know, and then you have sedans that's real easy to see over. So, you know, depending on if there was potential witnesses in the parking lot, you know, their view may have been obscured because of a vehicle or something like that.
Have you ever had something like this, something so violent?
Well, you know, unfortunately there are, you know, we deal with violent cases all the time, and you know, this is a very rare and unique case. Obviously we have you know, we deal with sexual assaults. A lot of times a sexual assault case you know, unfortunately involves a family member or, you know, a distant relative, maybe a you know, estranged boyfriend or husband situation. You know, we get a whole host of those types of scenarios. Very rarely have we had some that if somebody was abducted, taken against their will by a complete stranger. That's very rare. It's very rare. But it goes to show you that it can happen, and it can happen anywhere. So that's why we must be extra vigilant. I remember, I couldn't give you the year, I think it was in the early 2000s, this Anderson City had a predator that I think he attacked 2 or 3 women, and as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, it was at the Bio grocery store parking lot, at least a couple of them were. And you know, I remember the fear then, especially, and I was a young deputy then, but there was a lot of fear in the community about who could be next and everything else. And so, but unfortunately, these do come up from time to time. There's some sick people out there. All right, appreciate y'all being here.